What is meant by not knowing being the highest knowledge? In this video, I want to explore the seemingly paradoxical nature of this understanding that the highest knowledge is the one that says, I don't know. And this comes mainly in the studies and teachings of every single tradition that goes into the mystical side of understanding what reality is. And they're all, of course, associated with self-knowledge or self-realization. So what I want to do in this video is to explore in our direct experience what is meant by not knowing, so we can resolve this paradox and remain as that which resolves the paradox always. To give a little context, the reason why I use the word paradox is because paradoxes are always and only created in the mind, because paradoxes require thought. And so the paradox is that thought can usually resolve everything except for those things that are obvious, but it cannot find a resolution. It is obvious that it is, but it cannot find a resolution to the question. So a very easy example of this would be, how can I count to infinity if I know that there is an infinite amount of numbers? Well, the answer obviously is we can't. So there's a paradox there, very simple one. We are interested, of course, in the nature of reality. And so the first question that we need to ask is, who is the one that wants to know the nature of reality? Who are you? So if we explore this, then we can get to the point of not knowing and understand why not knowing is the highest knowledge. So contemplate this with me and close your eyes if you feel more comfortable that way. You don't have to. And let your attention move to wherever it wants to go. Notice that attention is just the focusing of your awareness into something, whatever that may be. It could be a physical sensation, or it could be thoughts, or voices, narrations in your mind, even my voice. And realize that all of this has an objective quality to it. Whereas we say it has form. It has a distinct vibration to it. And we can conceptualize that. The mind conceptualizes all forms. These are fashionings in the mind. We're not so interested in how the mind does this, but actually to know that the mind is simply the doing of this. The body is a perception of those same fashionings, but with sensations, as opposed to thoughts and images, ideas, notions, concepts. But what is it that knows all this? The answer is obviously you, or I. I know this. But what is it that knows it? What do you mean when you say I? Can you define that? Can you find form or shape in that which knows? If a thought appears as an answer, notice how the thought will arise as a possibility and then dissolve. At best, it'll leave a concept or an idea. We don't even need to check that concept or idea in the field in which it's appearing to know that it doesn't define the field in which it is appearing. It was just another thought. Another one may arise, and you would notice that It shares the same qualities. It's temporary. And it doesn't define that which is knowing it. Once you see this, you can let the mind do what it wants to do. We're not against it. It doesn't interfere at all with this investigation. We are more interested in that which knows the thought or the idea as the source of it and the place where it dissolves into. And to know yourself as that, because you can check that you do not dissolve with the thought. You remain as that which knows the thought. This gives you validation that that which you are doesn't have a form. You have no shape, but all shapes and forms are welcome. The mind cannot know its own nature, because the mind is simply fashioning or forming, and it cannot create a form of that which is the substance or the field in which everything appears. Space is not an object, but all objects are equally welcome. This is a not knowing that admits that there is knowing. There is an awareness of being. And in this awareness, in this being, which is what you are, knowledge in the form of objective experience can arise. This is the highest knowledge because it allows all other objective, albeit temporary, knowledge to exist. In other words, I am aware of a mind, but the mind is temporary. Always, I, awareness, remain. Always. If you want to continue, you can pause this video and just allow yourself to contemplate this further. What I like to say to conclude this invitation to contemplate something that is very obvious to the mind is that this not knowing only comes from the mind. And it's a great, healthy not knowing that must be surrendered to the fact that in that not knowing, I actually am at peace. In that ignorance, or divine ignorance, as sometimes been called, is a beautiful thing. It is not to get rid of conceptual knowledge, because as we can see, we cannot get rid of conceptual knowledge. That is what the mind does. And it is welcome. It can come up as an expression of our current way to celebrate this, to want to share it. It always changes, and it's supposed to change, just like art is meant to change. Music is meant to be different, but that doesn't define who we are. It's only an expression of the moment. So everything is welcome. But we know that there is no way that that will encapsulate what we are, any concept, any idea. Just a simple observation of this is something that you can include in your contemplation or your meditation practice, as it should be, to realize the nature of that which is always present and in which the mind arises and dissolves itself as movement, as activity. That is all that is required to also resolve this paradox of how is not knowing, which is pure awareness, the highest knowledge? And obviously, because it is the primordial awareness with which everything else is known as objective or phenomena in general, whether that be of the body or the mind, and the stories that are created out of that. In the same way, we do not exclude anything. We welcome everything because everything is allowed, and it is the way the mind and the body works. So I hope this video is helpful to give you another angle of contemplation for your meditation practice that leads to the same place of this peaceful, aware being, luminous, aware being that we all are. Include it in your meditation. Leave me any comments if you find this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.